The Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Gauntlet of the NFL. So, the 7-2 Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be put to test over the next 8 weeks as they're going to be facing the toughest teams in the NFL. After the Pittsburgh Steelers bye week, they have the toughest schedule remaining because they went out and faced the Commanders, who was a really good team in the NFC, beat them. But their upcoming matchups are even harder because they have to face every single team in their division 2 times. They haven't played one divisional game yet this season, but it starts this week against the Baltimore Ravens. And then you have the Cleveland Browns, which is always a tough matchup, even if their record is not good. And then you face the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow. And then you go back and face the Browns again. And don't forget, after that, you have the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the best teams in the NFC, in a really hard matchup. And then you go straight back to the division, facing the Baltimore Ravens, one of the best teams in the AFC. And don't forget, on Christmas, December 25th, you face the defending champions and Patrick Mahomes. And to end the season, you go back to another divisional game, facing Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals once again. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to be put to test, but they're more than capable of getting through it and making the push to the playoffs. But first, before I even get more into that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. Also, like this video. Now, let's get right back into it. So, right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers record sits at 7-2. And if you look at their first 9 games of the season, you could say they had easy matchups. And they had matchups that favored them a lot. And they were the better team in most of those matchups. And that's why they're sitting at 7-2. They did face some tough teams, however, but many people would say it was easy. Well, this second half of the schedule is not going to be easy. They are the last team in the NFL going into week 11 now to play a divisional game. They have not played a divisional game yet this season, and now it starts. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, whenever you have divisional games stacked up late towards the end of the season, it's never a good thing because that's when the most injuries happen in those games because those are the toughest games. Those are the grittiest games. How many times over the years have we seen the Pittsburgh Steelers, it doesn't matter the record of either team, facing the Browns when they had a bad record, it always been a close game. Facing Cincinnati Bengals when they weren't a good team, being a close game. And then always against the Baltimore Ravens. Those are the hard-hitting matchups, and that's when injuries happen the most. And when they're stacked up back-to-back weeks, and within the next 7 weeks, 8 weeks of the season, you have all 6 of those, that's going to be so tough to go through, especially with the playoffs nearing the corner. So when injuries happen in those games, you won't be as healthy for the playoffs. So that's why it's against the gauntlet of the NFL. And not even to mention, it would say, hey, you had those 6 divisional games, but you have 2 easy matchups. No, those are not 2 easy matchups either. Those other games that the Pittsburgh Steelers have against other teams, those are not easy matchups. Those are against the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending champions, and then the Eagles, who made the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So you look at those matchups, and there's not one easy game left on the schedule. And even though the Steelers' record sits at 7-2, it could go really good from here, or it could go really bad, or it could break even. And the Pittsburgh Steelers hope it could be above average to finish this season and finish with a top record in the AFC to have a favorable matchup in the playoffs. Hopefully, this can make or break the Steelers season, but also it can make or break other team seasons as well. Because when you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, they don't have a good record right now, and they still have to face the Steelers twice. So just say the Steelers could beat the Bengals 2 games this season, they could basically kick them out of playoff contention. So that's also a good thing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. When you look at the Ravens, even if the Ravens and the Steelers have the same schedule or the same record, or just say the Ravens had a better record than the Steelers coming into this week, it doesn't matter because the Steelers still have to face them twice. So it gives the Steelers a chance and it gives the Ravens a chance to win the division in these last 2 games that they face versus each other. So those are going to be big matchups for the AFC North title. and a playoff berth on the line. And then it's the Cleveland Browns too. They have no chance of making the playoffs, but the Pittsburgh Steelers, against them, it's always a close game. It doesn't matter if the Browns go 0-16, 0-17. It doesn't matter. The Browns versus Steelers, always close games. They had a playoff matchup where it was a close game, but the Steelers-Browns, it's a rivalry there, even if we don't want to admit it. And then the Chiefs, like I said, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Kareem Hunt now, the defense of the Chiefs being one of the best in the NFL. This will be a tough matchup, and this could be a matchup for the AFC conference. If the Steelers continue dominating like they have done every other team, and they keep winning games and not losing games, and the Chiefs somehow lose a couple games here and there, that matchup on the second last week of the season could be huge and could be for the number 1 seed. We never know. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, they head into the final weeks of the season versus the Gauntlet, and it could be beneficial for them. It could be unbeneficial for them. But either way, it's the toughest schedule remaining, I believe, in the NFL in general. But to be honest, I want to make a separate video on this, but this is the most comfortable I've been with the Pittsburgh Steelers team going into any week. Doesn't matter who they're facing in a long time. Since Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell type of days. Because the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have a defense that could force turnovers. They have a pass rush in TJ Watt who could get sacks, get to the quarterback, and could at least stop the run somewhat. And you also have an offense now. In Russell Wilson, George Pickens, now Mike Williams, you have Najee Harris, you have Jalen Warren, you have offensive line, Pat Freiermuth, everything like that. This is the best your team has been in a while, and the most comfortable I've been heading into these tough games. The Pittsburgh Steelers can now put up points to match these teams that are putting up points. But also, they have a defense that if they are playing really good that day, could absolutely shut out a team and win the game just based off their defense. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is the most comfortable I've been, and probably they've been in a minute going into each week against good teams. And that's why if there was ever a season for the Pittsburgh Steelers to go up against the Gauntlet like they are doing right now at the end half of this season, this would be the year to do it because they're on a roll. The Pittsburgh Steelers have won their last 3 games, their first 3 games with Russell Wilson on the team, and if they continue doing what they're doing, they're going to be a top seed in the AFC and also a mismatch and a team that the other teams don't want to face come playoff time because of how gritty they are. They put in full effort every single game. It doesn't matter if you think they're out of it. It doesn't matter if they're down by double digits. They could put up the points to make that comeback now, in which in previous years they couldn't. And they could also shut you out. So the Steelers, this is the team to do it. And this is a team led by Mike Tomlin who could go up against the Gauntlet and be successful. So this is my thoughts on the topic. And I just want to bring this to the attention of Steelers fans that within the next couple of weeks, this could make or break the Pittsburgh Steelers season. But I really think it can make it and prove to us the Steelers are the real deal. Not only in the division, but also not only in the AFC, but the NFL in general. And this could prove that they are really Super Bowl contenders and not fakers. There's been other years in the NFL where the Steelers had a better record or had a good record, but they didn't look like they're winning, convincing you that they're a good team. It looked like they were barely getting through and just scraping their way through, and they just weren't a good team, but their record was really good. But this year, the Steelers' record is really good, but they are a really good team in terms of the production that they're putting on the football field and just on the film and from the fan watching the game in general. So the Steelers, they have a chance to be great, and this will prove it. But anyway, that's the end of this video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on the Pittsburgh Steelers facing the Gauntlet, and what do you think their record will be to end the season in terms of these last 8 weeks? Just going through these 8 weeks, do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers finish with a positive record out of the 8 games, a negative record, or they just break even? Let me know your thoughts. Me personally, I believe the Steelers could beat the Bengals twice, knock them out of the playoff contention, and ruin their season. And also, They could beat the Ravens at least once, at least break through with that. They could beat the Browns twice. It's going to be a harder matchup against the Chiefs. I believe if the Chiefs head into a perfect record against the Steelers, they break that record. And the other matchup against the Eagles is really up in the air. So that's how I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers could finish. I believe they'll finish with a positive record out of these last 8 games. And finish double-digit wins this season and maybe even 12 to 13 wins. That's my thoughts. They head into the playoffs with their head held high in the AFC. So those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below about facing the Gauntlet. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news, updates, highlights, analysis reports, everything surrounding Pittsburgh Steelers. I cover it and I'll continue to cover it. So stay tuned to the channel, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, I'll see you guys all later. I'm out. Peace.